Watching that betting show, watch what you bet today. All day long NCAA action with some NBA flavor tonight. Spotlight on Louisville and UNC in Charlotte tonight. Teddy, UNC currently sitting at -7.5 total. If we get some updated numbers at 150 to 150.5, depending on where you're shopping at. Don't have the money line numbers up in front of me. 7 p.m. tonight from the Spectrum Center. Louisville 17-13 against the spread in all line gains. UNC 18-11. You know UNC is going to pack this place. Louisville has fantastic crowds. Neutral site should be a lot of fun. Is this maybe a little bit too many points to lay on a neutral site with UNC here, Teddy?
I mean, it might be. The old joke is that Roy Williams had always said a tea time for Saturday instead of the ACC championship game. It's a North Carolina team that doesn't have a lot to play for in the tournament. They do have a potential rematch with Duke tomorrow if they can survive and advance from this ball game. And look, Louisville was able to give them a whole lot of trouble. 2 meetings between these two teams this year. Louisville played well in one. They did not play well in a 10-point in a loss. So it's certainly a Louisville team that played as well as I've seen them play in 3 months yesterday. Certainly in 2 months. They came to play. Given North Carolina's concerns at times with Roy Williams' intensity, for these games, I do worry about laying a price with the Tar Heels. The money has come on North Carolina, and it's a Louisville team that, they were -17 in rebounds the first time. They were really struggling in transition when these two teams met in February. That is something the Cardinals will have to fix if they're going to pull the upset or come close against the Tar Heels this evening.
First time in a long time, Teddy, Texas-Kansas in the Big 12 tonight tournament. Usually Kansas comes in wearing that crown saying we were king of the regular season. Let's see if we can double down and win the conference tournament and head on into March Madness. Not the case this year. Kansas currently favored by -3, actually 2.5s across the board. Total at 137.5, money line split +125, -145. Texas 15-16 against the spread on the season, Teddy. Kansas 12-17 against the spread on the season, but 3-0 against the spread in neutral court sites. Some suspension information. Obviously, Roach is back for Texas in this game. Can Kansas rebuild? Usually when they have this at the Kansas City, at the Sprint Center, Teddy, more of a home game for Kansas. They really bring the crowd there.
Yeah, I'm more expecting they'll have crowd support tonight, but is that going to matter? This point spread was one of those that you look at it, you're like, oh my. The market's showing Texas a lot of respect in a venue where the Jayhawks have had all kinds of success for years. And we've seen money come on Kansas this morning, and guess what? The wise guys betting it right back on Texas. Jayhawks didn't win the Big 12 this year for the first time in 15 years for a reason. They weren't as good. And, when Gerald Vick leaves the program, Azubuike gets hurt, and that's 2 NBA talents that Bill Self hasn't had all year. Certainly for all the Big 12 campaign. Kansas is a good team. They're not a great team. And, Texas beat them soundly when they played last month. The January meeting decided by a single bucket. They got Kerwin Roach back tonight. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Texas battle Kansas right through the final buzzer, even with the Jayhawks likely enjoying the support of the raucous crowds in KC.
Friars and the Wildcats battling right now in the Garden today. It's going to go on all day long. St. John's and Marquette due to light up the Garden tonight with a little bit of offense. St. John's obviously playing some of their home games there on the big stage in Madison Square Garden outside of Carnesecca Arena. The one interesting thing about this, the line opened up, Teddy, offshore and in most outlets at -2, but it's quickly risen to -3.5. Even saw some 4s back out there, but currently right now sitting at 3.5, over under 149, 148.5, depending on where you're shopping at for this one. The one interesting thing is both games won already by St. John's. So Marquette looking to finally get over the hump. Marquette coming in on a little bit of a losing streak here, but it's not for not playing well. It's just not closing out games. Can they get to the Garden tonight? Maybe close a game out here, Teddy.
Well, Marquette at this stage of the season, they remind me a little bit like Oklahoma did last year, where Oklahoma had a good start to the season. Trae Young was their clear superstar. Everyone deferred to Young. And by the end of the year, Young was worn down and the rest of the team had no confidence, and Oklahoma stunk. And you could bet against them game after game after game and cash in. Marquette was a great team in January. They were. Marcus Howard's been used an enormous amount, in terms of usage rates through the roof. The supporting talent around him has been mediocre. I wonder if he's worn down. Maybe Marquette gets the job done today against the Johnnies. I wouldn't bet them, and certainly not after this line move. I wouldn't bet them. The Johnnies at the Garden, they play well in this venue. They played well in this venue yesterday. They've beaten Marquette twice already this season. They beat them by 20 at home and stole one by a point, the first loss that Marquette had at home all season, snapping an 8-game winning streak. Yeah, the Golden Eagles come into this game with its triple circled. They're not playing very good basketball. Not playing good enough for me to lay a price with them on what's ostensibly a neutral floor, but will really be a St. John's crowd at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's always the tale to tell in these conference tournament plays. You're going to get the rested and ready team, or do you like the team that got some momentum, played the night before, and or certainly plays some of their home games there? It should be an interesting one to watch. Dipping over to the NBA, Teddy, break up the Lakers. Teddy, go over to the trash can, pull out that ticket that says the Lakers are going to make the playoffs because they're on a run. Yes, a one-game run. We'll see what happens tonight. Raptors also look to bounce back after a loss in their last game. Current line, Teddy, Raptors -9, total 231.5. Moneyline split plus 395, minus 470. Taking place tonight, 8 p.m., Scotiabank Arena. Lakers 9-6 against the spread, Teddy, on the road this year, while the Raptors 14-19 against the spread as a home favorite.
Sure. I mean, when you read the quotes from L.A., they're bet on quotes. LeBron James, after the win against Chicago, that snapped that skid and saved the season. You know, they had to rally from way behind in that ball game. LeBron, quote, "We have an opportunity. We go to Toronto in our next game. We go into Detroit, who's a playoff team. We go into Milwaukee at the end of the trip. All playoff teams, all good teams. Those games will be like playoff games if we want them to be." That's an argument, perhaps, for taking the points. You know, this is a team that hadn't won since February until they won at Chicago the other night. Kyle Kuzma, quote, "When you're losing, it's always hard to try to have fun, to embrace just playing the game. You get caught as professionals so many times in this day and age, social media, and everyone's so tight and tense when they play basketball. But, you know, in general, as basketball players, we need to try and have fun. Play the game like we did when we were kids in high school and college. We can do that for the next 15 games, lay it all out there. It's all we can really ask for right now." So, I mean, those aren't bad quotes from L.A. You want to make a case for the Lakers staying alive against a Raptors team that, as you mentioned, has struggled to cover numbers at home all year. They're coming off a bad loss. They got whopped by 25 by the Cavs the other night and lost Serge Ibaka, 3-game suspension. That means Marc Gasol back in the starting lineup for Toronto tonight, which is probably not good news for the L.A. Lakers.